Hi, everyone. Hope your week has been going well and the conference, has been going well for you and you've been listening to a lot of good speakers. If you have any speakers that you really liked, please add them to the chat too. Um, there's some that I want to catch up on, and maybe I can spend the next few days watching some that you guys liked. So today, so what I'll do is I'll start by sharing my screen.
Yes, we can go to your presentation. And I would actually also love to read which sessions did you enjoy the most. So we have some feedback in this sense as well. Okay, you can go on, Ali. And I'm muting myself, but I'm reading your chat. I'm reading the chat. You can ask your questions as always. After the short presentation, Ali is going to answer any questions that you might have. And yeah, Ali, welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucy. So hi everyone. My name is Ali. I'm going to be speaking about choosing the right software systems for your program in school. I have a lot of screens going on here right now. There we go. So our agenda today, um, Lucy covered an introduction for myself, so we can fly right through that one. And then we will be going through the process of choosing the right software in 4 steps, and then we'll go through a Q&A. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this. So Lucy covered this. Pretty much what I try to do now is I help Montessori schools and teachers select the right software for their school needs. So when we think about Montessori schools, what tools could they be looking for? Are there any software tools that you are looking for specifically? If you guys can write in the chat something that you're looking for your school or your program, that'd be great. And maybe we can see a few, some good ones might come up, and I'll give it some time. Um, so let me go to the next one. Yeah, simplicity, definitely. So here are some more, I guess, examples of what you're looking for, right? And I'll just walk through these for you so we can talk about admissions. This includes your inquiries, booking the tours for your families, and obtaining enrollment documents. For lists, this includes creating your class lists, wait lists, and re-enrollment lists. For billing, this includes creating your invoices, processing payments, creating and sending receipts. For example, in Canada, we send tax receipts for each family. For communication, this is your parent communication, emailing and sending out memos and announcements to your families. Then we have marketing. So this includes having an email database, sending event marketing. This also includes your social media accounts, your content posting scheduler, as well as your website. For administration, this includes having a place to store all your student information, your allergy cards, your emergency cards, as well as forms. For example, if your school has any permission forms. For record keeping, this includes doing your attendance, your daily logs, lesson planning, your anecdotal records, pictures of children, and report cards. For staffing, this includes dealing with your onboarding of your staff, document management, hours tracking, vacation and sick day tracking potentially, and then everything else. This includes your email management, your document management, your video conferencing, whether you use Google Meets or Zoom, things like that. So we can see here, like there's a lot of different things that go on in schools and sometimes within your programs. And there's so many different softwares that can help with different areas. Especially, in 2025 now, there's so many tools on the internet that you can use to help you in different areas. And sometimes it's difficult to decide what to choose. How much is it going to cost? What makes one software better than another software? And what's the right fit for your program in school? So, what does this process to select the right software for your school look like? So, we're breaking it down into 4 steps today. Step 1 is developing your requirements. Step 2 is identifying what software is available for you to use for the problem that you are trying to solve. Step 3 is conducting demos and how to select the right software for your unique needs. And step 4 is implementing the software and developing your training plan. So for our example today, we will be pretending that we run a Montessori school and we're looking for a Montessori record keeping software. So the first step is to develop your requirements. Ask yourself, what are you looking for to support your school? In our case, we're looking for Montessori record keeping software. The next question is, what does it specifically need to do? This question requires a longer list of answers since there are a lot of things we would want a record keeping software to do. When you think about a Montessori record keeping software, what comes to mind? What comes to your mind in terms of what you'd want it to do? If you can give us some examples in the chat, that would be awesome. And I'll include an example here. One example that I can include for you guys is we want to follow the student's progress throughout the 3-year cycle. Some other examples include the ability to customize the lessons within each curriculum area based on your school program or the material that is available in your classroom. Another example is the ability to create individualized lesson planning and progress tracking. For example, marking lessons as introduced, practiced, or mastered. Another requirement is the ability to do attendance. Another requirement is the ability to create anecdotal record keeping. And you might also be looking for the ability to set role-based access, so teachers can only view the students in their classroom. The purpose of the requirements is to help guide you in making a decision on what software you will choose to use. And you can also use tools like Google and ChatGPT to help create these requirements. So it's not, you don't have to like come up with them yourself or feel like there's no way you can do this. So we got resources for that. So what you'll end up with is a list of requirements that become your software evaluation checklist. I will zoom in here a little more. So this becomes our software evaluation checklist. We'll come back to the first section of software information, but now that list we were just talking about becomes a checklist for us. So we were talking about like core record keeping features, tracking the progress through the 3-year cycle, customized lessons within each curriculum area. Attendance is here. So I've just created a list, and this is something Lucy will send out to everybody after so they can have access to this as well.
I'm
Um,
also adding it to the chat. I'm adding a link to the checklist.
So this is a template for you guys to start off with. And it covers a few different areas. So it talks about if you want a parent and guardian portal, you'd want it to be mobile friendly for easy access. We go through the role-based access, which we talked about, like if you want it on a classroom level. And we also go into like user experience, if you wanted to connect or integrate with other platforms that you might use at the school. And scalability, if you're planning to have this at multiple schools, if you want it to be cloud-based storage versus on-premise, and if you want it to be able to support your school as it grows, will it be able to? We'll come back to the pricing, and we'll even come back to the strengths and the total score. But this is really a good way to keep a list and take this list into our next step. If you can think of any requirements based on the list that I've given you, please feel free to add it into the chat. So now that we have the requirements checklist, we can move on to step 2, which is to find out what software is available on the market. The first place to start is by speaking with other teachers, your friends, your colleagues, and other schools in your area to find out what they're using. This is the best place to start since they have the experience with using some type of software and they can share their experiences with you. Let them know what you're looking for. And in our case, let them know you're looking for a Montessori record keeping software and see if they've used anything in the past or if they currently use anything. Next is online research. So if you're looking for Montessori specific software, like in our case, again, record keeping software, I recommend checking websites like Reddit and Facebook groups. These are great communities to ask questions and where people have answered questions before. Feel free to explain what you're looking for, and people are always willing to help. Google is always a great place for this, as well as, yeah, so we'll talk more about Reddit on the next slide. If you're looking for software that is not Montessori specific, for example, billing or payments, two good websites I recommend are G2 and Captera. They provide software ratings, reviews, competitors, and comparisons against different tools. The reviews are really helpful since they're verified reviews, so they'll give you a really good insight on real experience people have with the software after they purchased it or when they switched away from it. Doing this research will really benefit you as you move into the next step. But before we move into that next step, I want to show you an example on Reddit. So prior to this presentation, I went on Reddit and I searched Montessori record keeping. And I found this, and I'll zoom in a little bit out. So someone on Reddit asked this question 5 months ago. Teachers, what's your method of recording observations? Notebooks, checklists, Montessori workspace? Just curious to hear how people are taking their notes on their children and what kind of notes you take. So there were about like 10 responses, but I'm just going to show you guys 2 responses and give you a minute to just read through it while I just catch myself up on the chat. Thank you guys for leaving comments in the chat as well. Okay, so I hope everyone's had a chance to read this. One thing I'll say about Reddit is that it's a great place to find honest opinions. People will tell you how they feel, what they like, what they don't like, and nobody is paying them to say these things. So I wanted to highlight 3 things that came out from reading these posts, and I'll zoom in again. We were able to identify Montessori Workspace, Transparent Classroom, and Nurana as potential software we can use in our school. Right? So this was a free way for us to go online and see what people thought about them. I also wanted to note that with Reddit, you can reply to individual responses. So there's a button below. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but there's a button that says reply. So you can reply specifically to people's responses and ask questions to dive deeper. You can ask them, how did you find the pricing? Or since you've been using this software, is there anything else you wish you knew about it before you started using it? Or I've heard of XYZ software, but someone I know said, this or that about it. Would you agree or disagree? And again, Reddit is a great place to get people's feedback. Either that same person will respond or other people will respond back to your question and give you their opinion. So, based on our research so far, here are the different Montessori record keeping tools that are available to us. Now that we have a list of the possible softwares, the next step is to start to meet with them. So, step 3 is conducting demos. Demos is like short form or lingo for a demonstration of the software. When we say demos, we just mean we want to have a virtual meeting to see the software in action and see how it's being used. I recommend that you set up initial demos with 5 or 6 software companies. This way, you'll get a sense of the different solutions on the market, what features they're good at, and you can also see what their products look like and how much they cost. How these demos are structured is they'll start with intros. So they'll ask you about yourself, where your school is located, how many students are in your school, what software, if any, that you're currently using, how did you hear about them, and what problem are you currently facing, or the problem that prompted you to reach out to them. Then they will do an intro about them, and it's usually a salesperson on the call. They'll talk about where their company is located, what their software is known for, how long they've been around, and the features that they typically help schools with. Then they'll either show you how the software can solve the current problem you're facing, or they'll show you the core features that their software platform offers. These demos are typically between 30 minutes to 60 minutes, depending on how big the software is. So for our example, if we're looking at a Monterey record keeping software, it might just take 30 minutes to go through that demonstration. But if you're looking for an all-in-one software for your school, that can take up to an hour or so to show you all the different features. Since this is your first meeting with the software company, they typically will not go into depth into any particular area unless you ask them to. Their goal is to just show you high level as much as they can, and they might show you their core feature in more depth. But it's up to you if you want to go into more detail on a specific area. But I recommend to try to stay high level so you get to see everything. Near the end of that conversation, that's when they'll bring up their pricing to you. And then they'll ask you about your final thoughts, how you're feeling based on what you've seen, if you still have any questions, and if you're interested in moving forward with them. During these demos is also where the research from the last step comes in. You can ask direct questions based on the online reviews you found, as well as the discussions you had with your peers. For example, someone may have told you that the software has really bad customer service and they take 1 week to get back to you. Another question you can ask is, who would they say is their competitor? And this might actually be a company or software that you did not find out about in your research. So it gives you a chance to look into another one that might be better for you. So during these demos is when you should be filling out that requirement evaluation sheet that we created and that Lucy shared with you in from step one. You would fill this out for each software company you meet after that initial meeting. And I'll go back and show it to you. So now when we take this checklist into that meeting, we can start to fill it in. Okay, what software did we look at? What's the date we looked at it? Um, this is really for my name. Who showed it to me and what's their contact information? And as they're presenting you different features, you can now go through the list of things that you've created, your requirements, and you can start to check mark them off and say, okay, track student progress throughout the 3-year cycle. Okay, they do that. Let me check mark it. And as you go through that that demonstration with them, you're going to start to check off different items on your list. And don't worry if some of them are empty. The idea is you want to see how much of your requirements that they meet. And then we can go to the right side and look at the pricing model. If they're a one-time fee, if it's a subscription, if they charge per student, and then you can write in the price. You can write the strengths or limitations or concerns you had with the software, any notes below, and then you can add up your total score. So the total score is going to come from all the check marks you gave along the left side. And it'll just be like, okay, I might have had 28 things that I check marked. So that's 28 points out of 33 in total. Right. And as you're comparing this, as you're totaling this, you can now start to compare this sheet from this software company to the other sheets from the other software companies. And then you can start to see, based on the score, but also based on the requirements that you check marked, which software you think is better for you. What I recommend, and I can zoom out now, is to shortlist the top 2 to 3 softwares based on their total score. So you've done, let's say, 5 or 6 of those initial calls, those demos. After you look at the scores, really tell yourself, okay, I need to pick 2 of these. If it's a third place is really close in the mix, I want to include a third one. But really, let's try to stay with 2 that we feel can do almost everything we need it to do. And from there, you can schedule a second demo. So there's no limit on how many times you can meet a software company and have them show you the software. They're more than happy to show it to you to make sure that you feel comfortable with it and to ask any questions. It's also a good way to circle back to see the software again after you've seen other software. For example, you may have noticed that software B has really good feature. For example, it's really good at sending notifications to parents. But when you met with software A, they didn't show you a way to send notifications to parents, right? So you can have that extra meeting now and say, hey, do you have this feature? And understand if they do, if they don't, and how well they do that. After that meeting, I would suggest to again review your checklist for those two or three remaining software software companies, and decide on the best fit for your school. And be open with them. If you met with someone a few times, let them know that you're not moving forward with them and that you selected someone else. They won't feel bad at all. The next step is once you've selected someone, obtain the contracts to sign off, to begin using their platform. And I highly, highly suggest reading through their terms and their agreements to ensure that your school, ensure that they meet your schools and your jurisdiction's laws. So, does your privacy policy align with the software's privacy policy? And this is maybe where you can ask someone that has a law background or a consultant to just review the contract with you, just to make sure that you're comfortable putting your families and your students' information onto that platform. It's really important. And this is why, like, it's also good to have communication with the companies, the softwares that you don't choose, because maybe there's an opportunity where you selected one, you read through their terms of agreement, and you realize that, you know what, it doesn't align with our school. Now you can go back to those other software companies and say, hey, we actually didn't end up choosing that one. We'd love to move forward with you and see their contracts and see if you'd be open to working with them. So now that you've decided on a software to move forward with, it's time to prepare the implementation of that software. This gets this is a fun part for me. So when we say implementation, we're thinking about the transfer of data. How are you currently doing these tasks? And do we need to transfer the information into the new system? So going back to our example, if we're doing record keeping on paper right now and it's all in binders, we might want to update the current records onto the software so that everything is in one place. And then our teachers aren't having to go back to the paper records and then going back onto the software. If we have one time when we can input all of the information into the software to catch it up, then we can just start using the platform moving forward. And then you want to think about when's a good time to do this transfer of data. Maybe over a long weekend or over Christmas break, or maybe over the summer before you start a new school year. Since teachers will be using the software, um, it should be good to create announcements and memos for them and let them know it's coming soon, just again to prep them. Um, if parents have some kind of interaction with the software, you should create a newsletter or an announcement for them as well, to inform them about the change. And it may be appropriate to develop applicable policies to govern the way the software is used at your school. And this again is where you might want to speak to a lawyer or a consultant to provide some feedback. Some policies that you want to think about is like who should have access to the information. For example, which teachers have access to which students' information, and only allowing access to the software through a school approved device or on school property. Also, thinking about if teachers will require a school email address to log in, or if you're letting teachers log in through their personal emails. Another policy to think about is the expectations for teacher use or parent use of the application. For example, is there an expectation for teachers to respond back to parents in the app within a certain time frame? And making sure you set those expectations up front, so that there's less confusion as you start to use the platform. Next is if the software has any requirements, make sure you address them. So this is both technical and non-technical. For example, are you providing tablets to one teacher in the classroom or tablets for every teacher in the classroom? Are you asking teachers to use their personal phones to access the software? So it's important to ensure that you have proper security protocols in place for this and make sure that you think about the costs, right? Buying one tablet for one teacher versus three, right? Or if you need to do that for many classrooms. Another example is the software usually requires a certain version to run on your iPad or tablet. For example, one software company requires that your tablet has a minimum of either iOS 16 or Android 12. So, as much as we'd love to like go into our closets and find a tablet from like 5, 10 years ago that we think, oh, maybe I can use this to run the software on, that probably won't work, right? So again, just thinking about these things in advance will help you. And it'll also help during those meetings with the software companies to make sure that you have the right things there for when you purchase the software. Another note is you might just end up on Amazon searching for a tablet and you'll see the Amazon Fire tablets, which are really cheap, like between like $50 and $80. Um, but they do not support software apps. So you can't use those for any software. And also Microsoft Surface tablets don't support any software as well. Another technical requirement are the cameras. You want to make sure that your tablet has a good enough quality camera to take pictures. And think about the marketing purposes of taking pictures as well. And that might push you to get a better camera. So if you're thinking about, oh, I want to take all these pictures I take every day of the children and the activities they're doing in the classroom and on field trips, I want to maybe use it for my marketing or on my website. So you want to make sure the tablet that they're using in the classroom has a good camera so that you can use those videos and pictures in other places. I recommend a minimum of 8 megapixels, um, and yeah, or above. If some areas of your school do not have access to Wi-Fi, you want to make sure to solve this before you get the software, or it can affect your daily operations. A non-technical requirement would be purchasing cases for your tablets so they last longer, um, or providing storage areas in your classroom or school to store the devices safely and to charge them overnight and during the day. Another non-technical thing to think about is maybe buying a stand for your tablets, or when you buy a case, you can get those with the stands on them. Just making them more useful in the classroom because again, the teachers are, walking around with them, placing them down, taking pictures with them. So, having a stand with the case, just in case they drop it or they want to put it up while they're making notes. And then lastly on the slide is the onboarding and offboarding process for your teachers, admin people, and potentially parents as well, is to think about which teachers have access to what information, and creating a list somewhere to show you everyone's logins and what information they have access to. Have a plan to ensure that you can deactivate their logins when they leave the school, so that it's not, 6 months go by and you haven't removed their access after they've already left. And if teachers move between classes, you want to keep this list so that you can track which students' information they have at any time. So if a teacher is in one class for, a few months and you're moving them to another classroom, you'll be able to easily like remove them from one classroom and add them to the other one and not worry about them having access to like students from like 6 months ago from a previous classroom. So when it comes to training, the goal is to provide a good environment for teachers to adopt the technology in the classroom. To support this, we can do the following. The first thing is a positive environment to increase the adoption. Like we discussed in step one, let teachers know that you're looking for software and ask them if they've used any software before and how they found it. This will be really important when it comes to training staff, because if a staff has used something before, they'll more than likely be willing to use it again. And they'll probably be happy that you're bringing it on. because they find that it helps them in the classroom, right? And they might actually start to tell other teachers, oh, hey, we're going to get this software. It's going to be really helpful for us. So it'll help other teachers get on board. Because one tricky thing with software is the first thing people think about is, oh my God, I have to learn this new thing. I've been doing it the same way for so long. So when you have teachers that can kind of advocate for the software and say, hey, no, this is actually going to really help us and you're going to love it. That's really important to have when you start to train your staff. The second thing is to set up time to learn how to use the software through training sessions and to have more than one. In Canada, like PD days are really great for this. Some software providers will actually facilitate training sessions for your staff to help train them, and it comes for free. Sometimes they'll offer you like a few training sessions for free. Sometimes it's unlimited and you can always reach out to them and set up like 30-minute or 1 hour times for the software company staff to train your teachers. And you can also use YouTube videos that help in certain situations. And again, maybe something like Reddit, where you can ask questions and have other teachers respond to you. Facebook groups are also really good for that. And like I said before, remember, you can have more than one training session, right? Setting time for your teachers to discuss how they use the software is really helpful. For example, one teacher may have figured out a quick way to leave notes for a child, but another teacher is really struggling to do that. By having everyone together to speak about what they like and what they don't like about the software, it actually provides a space for teachers to share tips um, with the others. And this will help everyone again get on board with the software and really use it to the benefit. The idea is like you want your teachers to get the most out of the software they're using and not feel like they're struggling to use it every day. So by following these four steps that we've talked about, you'll be on your way to select the right software system for your program and school. Um, I'll open it up to any questions, and I guess we'll see what comes in through the chat. And I just wanted to just touch on this picture. This is Microsoft and Google. And here we have Microsoft saying, I have a lot of useful features. And you have Google saying, I have a lot of users. And they both have so many different software systems, right? The important part is, and a lot of their software systems are very similar. The important part for you is to find the right software that works for you, right? Um, and that's really what we hope that we can solve from this lecture today. So thank you.
Thank you, Ali, for the presentation. If there is anyone, having any questions, please share them in the chat. In the meantime, maybe, I don't know, what do you think, Ali? But I thought that we might share also the link to your feedback form that you have prepared for us if you want. If anyone is willing to fill in this feedback form, I will be sharing it in the chat. Probably it will help to Ali as well. So this is the feedback form from Ali. And let's wait for if there are any questions. Ali, is there anything else that you would like to share? Maybe your contacts, maybe anything that you would want to everyone here to see also in the recording later on.
Sure. I mean, I'll just leave my email address.
Perfect.
Anybody has any questions as they're going through the process to pick the right, software for their school or for their classroom or program, feel free to email me with any questions you have. I have no problem giving a little bit of advice, and hopefully I can help you find the right thing for you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, there are thank yous. No questions. Wanted to thank you for your time and informative presentation. So Marietta, thank you, Ali. Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, let's wait a few more moments if there is anything that someone is interested in.
Thank you, everyone.
So I have shared the feedback form. I have also shared the check sheet. So much to take into consideration. Yes, there is.
Yeah, there are a few things, and If you need any help, let me know.
Perfect. Okay, so you have Ali's email. So if there are any questions that come to your mind later on after you turn off the Zoom, and it's always like that. You come from the meeting and then you are thinking, oh, I should have also asked this. You have the email. Amina is sharing. I want to share that we currently use Google Classroom to share pictures and videos with parents, but we don't have a digital system for recording observations. It's all done by hand. Okay.
So, Amina, are you looking for a system to do your observations digitally? I think what I can do is I can provide some suggestions. Oh, there you go. We use Tapestry, right? This is a great way to start. Ask people. Thank you, Kathleen. I'm going to take those down right now.
Perfect. Okay, so thanks to everyone. Thank you for being here. Ali, thank you for creating this wonderful presentation. Thank you for supporting the conference. If you have any more questions, please reach out to Ali to his email, or you can even send an email to me. Probably you are getting tons of emails from me, so you can always just answer some of the emails and I will forward it to Ali to make it easier. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the conference. Ali, thank you again for your wonderful presentation and for your support. And thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Lucy, as well.
And if there is anything, if there is any feedback, we will send out a feedback form also for the whole conference. It will reach you on Sunday in a Sunday email, where we also have a little surprise, especially for the free ticket attendees. And I'm going to tell you on the Zoom because you are here and you are only 36. So hey, I can share this surprise on Sunday at 9 a.m. of my time, Czech time, European time. We are going to open all of the conference sessions again for 24 hours. So if you have missed anything, if you were thinking, oh, I should have listened to this session again, you are open to do so on Sunday. So even if people joined us later on, if they registered for the conference or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then on Sunday you can see it again. And yes, there are going to be recordings of all the live Zoom sessions as well. If you need more time, then I can only recommend the premium pass. I know that I have been saying that for a very long time, but yeah, that's all I can do. Thank you, Chona. Perfect. Okay, perfect. I will see you around. I will be probably sending you emails. I will be in touch again on Sunday. And thank you for being here. And again, Ali, thank you for being here as well. Okay, guys. Bye. And I'm switching off everything. Okay, bye.